So I just want to say that some people really do suck. I know that may seem like a horrible way to start a story, but it's true, and you'll see what I mean. A few years ago, my wife and I decided to take a road trip for our anniversary to see the Grand Canyon. We lived about 10 hours away, but neither one of us had ever gotten into a car and drove up to see it. And this became the destination for our first wedding anniversary, so we could check that off our bucket list. The trip started great. We stopped at some diners and shops along the way. When we arrived, we started hiking and exploring. I'll say this, we are about as beginner as it gets when it comes to hiking, so when I say we went hiking, it was more like walking around with style. My wife was able to find a campsite online where we were allowed to sleep in the back of my truck under the stars. The word campsite sometimes implies that a lot of people will be surrounding you, but there wasn't anybody even close to us. And the night was beautiful, romantic, and I would dare say perfect up until this point. We were laying there together, staring at the beautiful night sky. At this point, I didn't even have any idea what time it was. I knew that it was late, but it really didn't matter. I was just happy being with my girl. After a while of talking, I could tell that she was about to pass out soon. Her voice started to get hoarse, and she started to nestle into my chest harder. Eventually, she fell asleep, and of course, I wasn't tired at all. Trying not to wake her up, I reached blindly into my bag to find my phone. I decided that I was going to watch something on my phone until I got tired enough to fall asleep. Before I could even get anything set up to play on my phone, I hear the sounds of shushing. I figured that I could have been hearing things since being outdoors overnight isn't something I'm accustomed to. I stayed quiet for a little bit, trying to listen to the eerie quietness of the surrounding area. And just as I was about to move on from my paranoia, I heard what sounded like movement on the outside of my truck. I was trying to quietly search for my bag for a pocket knife that I knew was in there from work, but I was struggling to remain quiet as I did so. I finally got the knife and I sat, waiting for someone or some animal or something to show itself. I sat quietly for a few minutes and then I heard the light sound of the wind blowing. After a minute or two, I realized what the sound was, and it wasn't wind. It was the sound of air leaving my tires. I got up and got out of the truck. My tires were nearly flat. Before I could even react, someone came from the front of the truck, tackling me to the ground. I think I took 2 punches to the head that honestly had me spinning a little bit. As I lay on the ground, dazed and confused, I noticed the man got up to the back of the truck. I tried to get up pretty fast, but my body felt like jello, and I heard my wife scream, and the man just kept saying, "Stop screaming, relax, it's okay, it's okay." But once I heard her screaming, the adrenaline gave me the strength to get to my feet. I rushed over to the guy and pushed him down. I couldn't believe my eyes. I knew exactly who this piece of garbage was, I'm not even kidding. It was my wife's ex-boyfriend, back from high school. That's right, I said it. High school. They were together 10 years ago, for like 6 months, and this guy has been so obsessed with her ever since. I've had some unfortunate incidents with this guy, but nothing like what she's gone through. She has blocked him countless times, she's called the police on him, and has even had him arrested a couple of times. This jerk even tried to break up our wedding, and I kinda had a feeling that that was going to happen, so I had one of my friends be a bouncer, and to nobody's surprise, he tried to get in. Since our wedding day, though, we've had no incidents with him. I'm not sure why we thought this, but we thought that maybe he finally moved on. So, I stared at this guy laying on the ground and I told him to get out of here right now, as I held up my little pocket knife pointed directly at him. It didn't occur to me until afterward that this guy definitely had a knife on him since he slashed my tires, but he never actually presented it during the entire ordeal. As I held up my knife, trying to look as intimidating as possible, my wife was already on the phone with the cops. I guess I shouldn't be surprised anymore, but he didn't leave. He didn't care. He just kept saying, "We can get out of here now, come on!" At this point, I was terrified. This guy is absolutely nuts, and given our location, I had no idea how long it would take for police or park rangers to get there. My wife just kept screaming for him to get out of there. As I stood in front of the truck, just waiting for this guy to charge me again, I felt dizzy but still held my ground. He would walk away and then come back and shout the same things that he'd been yelling about the entire time. He just kept pacing, and I didn't want to move and potentially make things worse. To my surprise, the authorities were able to show up in less than 15 minutes, and let me tell you, those 15 minutes may have well have been 15 hours in my mind. They arrested him, and he screamed obscenities the entire time. Obviously, at this point we pressed charges, and this time, he got more than just a slap on the wrist finally. That was the last time my wife and I went camping though, and it probably will remain the last time. It's been years since that ordeal, and we've never had another incident with this guy. It took all those years, but she was finally able to get a restraining order on this creep. He was somehow able to avoid serious legal trouble all those past years, and that was a real eye-opener for me. This guy was clearly dangerous and had a warped perspective of reality. Either one of us could have been seriously hurt, but thankfully we made it out with no damage, other than some mental scars and 4 deflated tires. I won't lie. Every day I'm still on high alert because you just never know. He might come back, and if he does, this time I'll be ready. If you enjoyed this scary story, listen to thousands more, either over on the Let's Read YouTube channel or podcast.